Hi, Tammy. Hope you're well.
Hello, Sid. I am very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, and as usual, it's always a pleasure to have you on, especially for a
Thank
topic that's
you. Yeah.
especially a topic that's inspired by you, actually. Who am I exploring the observer's soul and consciousness? So, any insight on what inspired this topic from you?
I always say that I study Vedanta. I'm still a beginner in it. And it is so important, or it's so interesting when you delve deeper into the study of or the philosophy behind it. It is truly mesmerizing to know how things transpire. And one of the examples I saw, there's nothing we do is without God's hand in it. And for example, if they say if you take an alarm clock and put it next to a dead body, it ain't going to get up. So too, there is a higher purpose, there is a higher being, and our main focus is to find our true self. That is our, in Hinduism, they say finding or liberating, liberation. So that was so intriguing to me, and trust me, this is not like a once-off topic. There's just it, you can unpack it. I think it will be like a never-ending topic, and it's so interesting to me. And the old saying of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Recently I have come across so many books of the similar type of nature. I mean, I started with the seven spiritual laws with Deepak Chopra, then went on to Eckhart Tolle. And it's not only in Hinduism that you get this throughout all the cultures, all the races, throughout the world. And the recent book that I'm busy reading is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And he takes you through this this force, this energy, the subconscious, and how the psyche is, like in the very first chapter, he calls it the inner roommate. And it is so interesting when you unpack this. And therefore, I thought, what a nice topic it would be. And we can
Hmm.
always expand on it going forward. And just to let the viewers and the listeners know, give them a little bit of insight as to our true self.
Awesome. Uh, all right, to get the ball rolling, if I am not my physical body, then who am I?
So, in many spiritual and philosophical traditions, I would say, suggest that your true identity is your awareness, your consciousness, or some people would refer to it as the soul or the atma. And it's not your physical body. Your body changes throughout your life. And I love the concept of the birth and the death. So everything we do has cause and effect, birth and death. Like today would die for tomorrow to be born. This morning would die for the afternoon to be born. The afternoon would die for the evening to be born. Everything has a birth and a death. So your body changes in the same way throughout life. You are not the same person when you were 3 years old. That person's died. You no longer can get there. You were not the same person when you were 16. Same sort of concept, but your sense of being, the you, the I, the self remains the same. The body is viewed as a temporary vehicle throughout which you find deeper experiences in the world, and your experiences, your knowledge, your and so forth. But the body, the true self, the Atman, remains the same.
Awesome. What do people mean by the observer, the soul, and energy? Are they the same?
So these terms, I would say, describe similar ideas, but I would say like maybe from different aspects or different traditions. So the observer is the awareness that notices your thoughts, your emotions, and your expressions, of the physical body itself. So like in Vedanta, they teach you to develop your intellect. So if with a person with a developed intellect, if somebody very close to them, a parent had to die, the one person would take it like, oh my, the world is ended. But the person with the developed intellect would say, okay, this has happened now. It's time for me to move on, to pick up the pieces and decide how am I going to go forward with this. So in the same way with it's teaching you how to handle dire situations, how to be in the present and let life flow in the motion that it's supposed to flow. The soul is often described as your eternal spirit, the essence that exists beyond the physical body, and the energy and the consciousness refers to the life force or awareness that animates, I would say, life experiences in life. So, although different traditions define them differently, they all point to the same idea that your deepest identity is more than just your body and just your mind. And we learn BMI not as in body mind
Yeah.
index, as in body mind intellect.
Wow. All right, there's a comment question for you here from Rishchitan. Dear Tammy, I believe the soul is a time traveler seeking solace and peace. There are a few ways we can explore, such as meditation, deep thinking, and keep searching.
Thank you, Resh, for that. Yes, most definitely. There's a few of the meditations that you can delve deeper. And I mentioned this last week as well. Something that I practice is the Kundalini awakening meditation. And trust me, when you have that experience, it is something so surreal. Do me a favor and just Google some of Kundalini awakening moments, and you'll see how people's bodies jitter and jive, and you got no control over this. And so the meditations, that there's vast amount of meditations that you can do to go into that space. But in Vedanta, I still meditate, right? I meditate on a daily basis. In Vedanta, they tell you that we're not ready for meditation because, I mean, you try meditation. My mind is running a million thoughts. Yes, when I'm meditating, might come down to 10, but I haven't got that quiet in mind as yet to delve into the meditation like it's taught in Vedanta. But trust me, practice does get you there. It doesn't make you perfect, but
Hmm.
practice does get you there. And in Vedanta, we also learn we're learning to get to the state of Brahman. So at that level where you you actually move away from your desires, and once you remove the desires, then you reach the state of Brahman. So it's not everybody can do it. It's a very intellectually strong person that can do it, that has no desires.
But then when you say Brahman, are you meaning someone that's saintly, or you meaning Brahman in a different sense?
So, yes, Brahman is the state of where you reach your spiritual awareness, your awakening.
Why do spiritual traditions compare the body to a car or a suit?
So, the analogy that helps explain that your body is temporary, and it's a temporary tool rather than your true identity. So many people become fixated on your looks, on like aesthetics and so forth. So, as a car, just as a driver uses a car to travel, your consciousness uses the body to experience the physical world. A car may change when it wears out or it needs to be repaired, but the driver remains the same. Likewise, the body changes throughout your life. Like I spoke about the birth and the death, your body changes throughout your life. While many spiritual traditions believe Your deeper self remains constant throughout the process of birth till death.
What does it mean to be the observer of my thoughts and emotions?
So, to answer that, in fact, in more detail, I would strongly urge you to read the book, The Untethered Soul. But my answer would be being the observer means recognizing that thoughts and emotions come and go. But there is a part of you that can simply notice them, the awareness that we talk about, notice them. For example, instead of saying, I'm angry, you might notice the feeling I'm experiencing anger. This is the shift that creates space between your awareness and your emotions, allowing you to respond more calmly instead of reacting automatically. How many people do you know that when they say, I'm angry, it's like they want to fist a wall, they want to go and punch a bag, or they want to go and punch somebody in the face? Whereas if you look at the awareness and you say, this situation or something that he said or she said made me experience anger. I've got a choice. I can react to it and probably regret my reactions, or be neutral about it, let it go through the flow and let it just pass by. So it's experiencing that, it's that awareness that you experience, and having, I call it the drone effect, having this drone effect of watching your life basically like on a movie screen.
Regarding the book you just mentioned now, where can viewers get that book? I mean, how can they
So
get that book?
So I bought mine on Amazon. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And I would say read it and read it and read it and read it again and again and again. I'm on my third read of the book. And
Wow.
every time it gives you something else. Trust me, it's like, oh wow, I didn't see this before. I didn't see that before. So it's teaching you to see, as I said, like the first chapter, it calls it the inner roommate, and that's our subconscious. The inner roommate, and how you need to observe. It calls it the observer. Observe what's going on, and you choose to be the higher person and watch this go by without things letting, well, or without letting things rather affect you in a negative way. It's like almost putting up barriers but breaking them down as well. It's like seeing things for what it is, and not overreacting to it. So it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And yeah, I got mine off Amazon.
Lovely. What does the wave and ocean analogy teach about consciousness?
So imagine a wave arising from the ocean. It appears to be separate, but it's made
Mhm.
of the same water as the entire ocean. So, similarly, some spiritual traditions or practices suggest that each person is an individual expression of the larger universe or the larger consciousness. While we appear separate, at a deeper level, we are connected to one another and to life itself. So there are some books out there that talk about, like the astral traveling. And when let me give you an example. Like sometimes you would go to a foreign place that you've never been before, and you would see somebody and you say, man, I know this person, that face is so familiar, I know him, but I can't just place where I know him from. Those deja vu moments. When we astro travel, we meet up with certain souls. Like your soul has, we meet at a soul level, you would remember me for how I look. Just the same way, when we astro traveling, we meet up with these people. And in our earth plane, when we meet up with them, it's like, I know this person, I know, and you can't remember where you saw them, but you never saw them before, besides at an astral level. And people say, oh, I don't astro travel. Yeah, right, I would say to them, because um, some people call it sleep apnea, some people call it sleep disorders, or whatever it is. But how often, or I would say almost everybody in this lifetime has experienced astro traveling, where you would find that you would doze off into sleep, and then suddenly your body, you feel like a thump, like your body hits the bed again, and you wake up in a fright. It so often happens, and that happens when the soul actually leaves the body and you are astro traveling, and you sort of come into an awareness and you hit back into your body. In Hinduism, they often say when a child is little, especially when a child is sleeping, do not alter the child, because the child still in an infancy stage, right? And the child is cannot decipher the different bodies, etc. They would say, do not put a dot on for the child. Do not change the clothing while the child is sleeping. Uh,
Okay.
you know, don't brush the child's hair, because when the soul is at the infancy stage, it's difficult for them to recognize the body itself, and this is so often you find you have cot deaths. This is one of the reasons.
That's very fascinating. How can this perspective change the way we live?
So, seeing yourself as awareness is key rather than just the physical body, and encourage yourself to worry less about temporary situations. You know, the old saying of this too shall pass, or where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, or will this matter in 3 months? Will this matter in 6 months? See yourself as the observer. Become more mindful about your thoughts and your emotions, especially your thoughts. You tend to sometimes, how often when you dream, say you're dreaming about your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever it is, and she did something really horrendous to you, and you get up and you're like so mad with her, but it was just a dream. So this is the other thing that we learn about, is the three states. It's the dream state, the waker, and the deep sleeper. So you cannot be in the three states at the same time. You're either in the waking state, which we are now. You're either in the dream state. When we sleep, we're dreaming. And in the deep sleeper, we are just nothingness. We are in deep sleep. We're not dreaming. We're not in the waking state. We're not thinking. We're not doing anything. We're in deep sleep. So those are the three states that we go through as well. The other thing is, treat others with compassion and empathy. Treat others how you would want to be treated. And so often I do this in my manifestations as well. Say if I'm meeting somebody, I would I would mimic that meeting, just as if I know I'm meeting the person at 11 o'clock in the day. That morning, as soon as I get up, I actually sit up in bed and I do that whole meeting in my head, and I see the positive outcome that I want. And 99% of the time, that works exactly how I wanted it. The one guy, Vishen Lakiani, who runs Mind Valley, he does the same thing. And he actually recorded himself the one day getting up from sleep, and he's got his eyes closed and he's doing this. He's putting things and he's shuffling around his day. And he also says 99% of the time his day works out as he planned. Another thing I do is when I get up in the morning, I say, thank you, God, for a brilliant, magical day. My day today is going to be A, B, and C. Plan out your day like how you're going to do it. I also, like on a Wednesday, I have a no procrastination day. So everything that I've been procrastinating about for a week or something, or I put it down on a Wednesday, and Wednesday is my day. I do not reward myself with any sleep until I get those tasks done. And it's actually worked for me in my favor. It's such a brilliant activity to have in your life. You will see such a beautiful flow of things. We human, we forget things. I make notes on my phone. remember to do these certain things. And on that Wednesday, it's like book a doctor's appointment, check with the dentist, get the gardener out, do all those things. You put it out there on a Wednesday. It's a no procrastination day. Try it out and see how it works for you. The another thing that you can also do is focus on inner peace and personal growth instead of external achievements. How often you find people doing charity work, right? And it's this big rah rah event. It's the camera set up. It's, oh, I'm doing this. And remember, most of these people, they're doing it as a once off. They're feeding people, they're going into Africa and feeding. It's a once off thing. What happens with 365 4 days of the year? Where do those people get a plate of food from? Instead of hiring those cameras and paying a fortune to transport them across the world, use that money, even if you're buying people in Africa a loaf of bread or a bag of mini meal to feed them over a month. That would make so much more sense than rather putting it out on social media that I did this and I did that. In South Africa, every Thursday when the bins go out, I had 10 liters of the mixing juices, 10 liters of that, and I would do 4 loaves of bread with the cold meat slices in there. And that's what I would give to the guys when they come to collect my bins. A lot of people say that, oh, they're getting a salary, they're working for the municipality, and so forth. That's something that I want to do.
Hmm.
And trust me, my bin is the only bin that would get brought back to my garden gate. They'll be in front of my yard. I'm not doing it for anything in return. I never
Hmm.
asked for that, but that is
Hmm.
something that they choose to do.
Hmm.
In my area, you will normally find when the bins go out, the roads are dirty with the little specks of paper here and there. In front of my yard, there is nothing because they would pick up everything. They know that I went the extra mile to make these sandwiches for them, to give them something cold to drink. And what I do as well is even in winter, I because they're coming in the day. In the day, it's still quite hot, so I would put the mixed juices into the fridge or the freezer, and by the time they come, it is nice and cold, and they really enjoy drinking that cold juice. So do simple things like that. Here in Dubai, you almost never find anybody to actually do any charity for. So the security guards, the reception, all those staff, I make them sandwiches and I put it on a platter and I take it downstairs and I say, go and enjoy, over tea or something. And that's what they would do. Here again, I'm not doing it for anything in return. But when my visitors come through, they will phone me. They know me by name. I take the initiative to go and speak to these people. I know my husband actually is very surprised because when I walk down, when we going for an evening walk or something, I will greet the security guards by name. And there's so many people. We're in an apartment building. People come and go all the time. In Dubai, people come here sometimes for a 2-year contract. They're gone back. How often can you say that I knew the security guard, I knew the shift change, I knew the duty manager, I knew the maintenance manager, I knew the subcontractor, I knew the 2IC manager, I knew the plumber. You can ask me and I will tell you this is who you call for that. This is what you do for that. It's not that I'm inquisitive. Yes, I would say I'm a little bit inquisitive, but I get to know these people because how often especially people with money or at a different level, they would ignore these people. But these are the people that actually make the business run, that make the business tick. And so often, these people are forgotten. But those little acts of kindness go a long way. The Even in South Africa, we have the car guard system. on some, it's not all the time that I'm in the shops, but whenever I'm there, I would tell the at the deli, I would say, give me, the burger buns, and I would buy the slices of cold meat, and I'll put a bottle of Coke in there, and I'll ask them for separate packets, and I'll give it to three car guards. It's not something, elaborate, but it's giving them a simple meal. So, these are the acts of kindness that get us closer to our true self, to our Atman, getting us there. And that, to me, that gives me inner peace. So focus on what gives you inner peace and work on that. You also feel a stronger sense of connection with other people in the world. The This perspective is more like a, you would say, like a spiritual or philosophical way of understanding the human experience, and it can be meaningful when taken literally as a metaphor of self-awareness. That
Awesome.
was a mouthful.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say the power of positive mindset.
Yes, absolutely, I strongly believe that.
Lastly, how can I live with greater awareness?
Okay, so I would say it's daily deliberate actions. So, one is practice mindfulness and meditation. So, be mindful in what you do, how you do it, the way you do it, the way you speak to people. Meditation, you can have it, and or meditation for me is key. Even if you do silent, a lot of people say, I don't have time. Wake up
Mm.
5 minutes earlier. you know a
Yeah.
lot of people, that's one thing they say, they don't have time for gym, they don't have time for meditation. So for me, get up half an hour earlier and watch, just try it for a week, watch what a change it is. For me, meditation is like, I say this to my spiritual mentor. Before, I used to love a glass of red wine, and that mellow feel that you get after the glass. I The meditation does the same for me. So I don't need to have the wine to have that mellow, that blissful feeling. And here, it's free. I do it every day, and I feel that immense bliss. You actually find yourself floating through the day. And while you're doing this, I would say have gratitude. Simple thing like, I'm grateful for technology. I'm speaking to you 11,000 kilometers away, but we're speaking fine. We can see each other, we can hear each other. Look how great technology is. I'm grateful
Mm.
for that. I took meds this morning. I'm grateful to the pharmacologists that put their life into studying and put their time into studying about medication to make me feel good. Simple gratitudes. Getting up in the morning, I'm grateful to have a bed to sleep on. I'm grateful to have covers. Have that sense of gratitude throughout the day, and you will see how, together with the mindfulness and the meditation, you will see how happy you feel throughout the day. Also, pay attention to your thoughts without immediately reacting to them. Sometimes I've noticed this recently as well, is like, say, if you're thinking about somebody, and this happened to me yesterday, I was thinking about you, and the message popped up on WhatsApp with the link, and I thought, oh my God, it's how often do you think of somebody? When you're thinking of somebody, most of the time, that person is also thinking about you. So think about the situation, what you're thinking about. Pay attention to the thoughts, and don't over analyze them. To think, like, how often, like, you had an argument with somebody, and every day you replaying and replaying and replaying that in your mind, and you just regurgitating that anger, that animosity, and it's just building up and building up and building up. And so often I say, you holding a grudge on somebody is like you drinking poison and expecting that person to die, whereas that person said it, done and dusted. It's not even affecting them. But it affected you in such a manner that it's created this whole scenario, like this film show in your head. So you need to be the observer and say, okay, I observed that. That's what I went through. That's what she or he said. Why am I feeling that way? It struck a nerve of some sort. So there's also another full topic that we can talk about is the illusions as well. Everything is an illusion. So it's, I often say, if that made me feel like that, what is it projecting into my life? Look at it, transmute, transcend, let it go. Don't over analyze, don't over focus on it. The other thing is reflect on your values and your actions. Be true to your values. My one of my favorite sayings is, be like a chameleon. Change the outer to adapt to your surroundings, but stay true to your core, true to your values and your morals. And your actions should go from there as well. Don't do something. A lot of the time when I counsel teenagers, the peer pressure is so intense that they do things with that peer pressure that they regret later. So be aware of your actions as well. The one key thing I would say is treating people with kindness and with empathy. Like I mentioned, walking past, greeting people, a simple act of greeting somebody, it costs you nothing. you know you focus, if you're going out to the shops, you're going out of the house, you look at people, how they put their head down and they walk. They don't even look at you, they don't even greet you.
Mm,
the I'll give you an example of when I worked at Telcom. We had a guy there that was close to retirement, and we had all the open plan offices, and he had the one in the corner. Before anybody, he was there in the office. We don't know what time he used to come into the office, but he was there bright and early, and he would be in his office, and he'd already got most of his day done. And I was the type of person that I would greet everybody as I walk along, the corridor. And nobody really greeted this guy. Nobody really spoke to him because they felt, he was just closed up. And I created this thing where at the end of every month, we would do a bring and share to remember everybody's birthdays for the month. And this guy would never indulge with anything, but I would take a side plate, put down the cookies, the biscuits, or whatever it is, and take him a plate and go and chat to him, only to find out that he stammered so badly. He was a fundi in IT, but he stammered so badly that he chose not to indulge or
mm.
join other
Communicate.
people because he was
Okay.
so conscious of the way that he stammered. And
Same.
trust me, it was the year of his retirement. And in that time, every day I would go and greet him. I would speak to him on the month end week. I would take him a plate. And by the last 3 months, he was actually joining us in the tea in the morning for the get-togethers. And just by chatting to him, it improved his slurring or the stammering. It improved that. And he actually teared when he was leaving. He teared and he said, "You have brought out something in me that I didn't know I had in myself, and thank you." I'm not there, as I said, for name and fame, but just a simple act. And it started off with one day taking him a plate of these the baked goods, and then every day, greeting him, finding out nobody knew his name. Everybody called him the guy in the corner. And I went up to him, got his name, and I would greet him every day. And the others would say, people worked there for 14 years, 8 years, never spoke to this guy. Here I went there, and I would pick up my hand and I would greet him and say, "How you doing today?" And he would have this big smile on his face. The only time you'd see him walk by if he's going to the gents, or if he's going for a coffee or something. But even with that, he'd put his head down and he would walk. And when I do see him, I will make a note. And yes, I'm rude like that, I guess, but I would pick up my hand and I'll say, hi, and call his name. So I would call his name so he would acknowledge that I know his name. And everybody used to say, oh, is that what his name? People working there for so long never bothered to do that. People will go on with blinkers. In a work situation, we spend 90% of our time, or I would say 80% of our time, with the people we work with. Why not, get to know them? I'm an empath, so I would do these kind of things and bring the team together. And in most of the places that I've lived around the world, I've done the same thing. I've had somebody, I created the movement swim, um, SWIM in Saudi. It is Saudi Women in Motion. And I had somebody that contacted me last week on Instagram and said, we really miss our get togethers, because when I lived in Saudi, we had a compound. And in the compound, we used to have, it was a lovely hall that we had. And once a month, we would have once a week, we would have a get together tea party just for the ladies to get together. And once a month, we would have like a big lunch, so forth. And a lot of the people said once you left, the idea just died down. So I'm not saying that, I'm not looking for praises, I'm not looking for recognition or fame, but have the ripple effect. You do this and see how you can change one person's life for the better. And this is why it comes back to treating people with kindness and empathy. And the other thing is so important to me, spending quiet time in nature and quiet reflection. These practices are common across many traditions. You can support the greater self awareness regardless of what your spiritual beliefs are. Just sitting, even if you don't meditating, you're thinking of meditation is for Hindus or for Indians or whatever. Nonsense. Just sit in silence, 5 minutes of silence. That's it. You don't need to do a special meditation, and just recollect your thoughts. One of the practices that I used to do as well is at the end of the day, just sit in silence before I would leave. When I was in corporate, before I would leave the office, I would just sit in 5 minutes of silence before I could close my laptop. And I would say, or sometimes I would close my laptop and I would sit there in 5 minutes of silence and replay how the day went. And sometimes I would say, okay, I'm going to do this again tomorrow, but in this way. Try to see how you can change things around, do things a little bit differently. So, as I said, going back to the main topic, the awareness, the subconscious, being aware of your thoughts, your actions, and not getting too involved with it, not like, the saying of two ears, one mouth. When you're speaking to somebody, speak to listen, especially when you're listening to, if they are opening up their hearts to you, listen, not to give them an answer, listen to digest and see how you can help them.
Awesome.
That's me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Tammy.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much. Love and light to all the listeners and the viewers.